News at 7 starts streaming now.
On this hour of Eyewitness News, the search for a motive in a shooting that left a rideshare driver dead on the near west side.
Plus, friends coming together to remember a teenager killed in a shooting on an interstate.
Also, President Biden works to rally allies behind Ukraine.
And later on tonight, Black brewers meet the people working to celebrate Black-owned breweries. Thanks for joining us, everybody, on this Tuesday night. I'm Cheryl Burton.
I'm Rob Elgis. We begin tonight with the heavy rain that's heading into the area. Ice could be a problem in some cities in our viewing area, although the city looks beautiful tonight again.
I know, right? It's the calm before the storm. I think that's what's going to happen, because 24 hours from now, what a difference a day will make. Meteorologist Greg Dutcher in now tonight to give us a warning and updated timing, all of that good stuff with his ABC 7 AccuWeather forecast. Greg.
Hey there, and the good news is that the bulk of this definitely misses us to the north. The bad news and the flip side of that is, while the snow is certainly going to be to our north, we do not get completely unscathed. The messy, wintry mix and even some ice, a relatively rare ice storm warning issued for the northern fringe of the viewing area. So let's just take a look at kind of the static satellite and radar. Now you see some snow already up off to our north. There's a dynamic duo of low pressure systems that'll combine, one coming out of the Rocky Mountains, one off to the south, and they will join forces and create this mess that we have right now. And you can see pretty clearly that we are getting off of the pretty easy on this, as out through this bullseye of red, that is a blizzard warning. It extends all the way up to the Twin Cities. Winter storm warning in the pink color. This is that ice storm warning box, which again you do not see very often in the purple color. And then a winter weather advisory for our northern tier of counties, and that will include the chance of some icing along with it too. So here is just the rundown, the quickest rundown I can give you for tomorrow. A wintry mix for a good portion of the area, including possibly the city, through the 6 o'clock hour. That will affect your morning drive. There could be some very slick roads, especially the farther north you go, but most of us change over to rain, and heavy rain, perhaps even some rumbles of thunder as we go through the afternoon, before we could wrap this up with some scattered snowflakes. So we will go through all of the details, and gosh, you guys got half an hour for me to go through weather with you?
We got a whole hour. Yeah. It's an hour of power.
I'm going to need 45 minutes to get every detail out there, but, you know, they'll give me 3.5 and we'll get through it.
Yeah. Got you tonight. All right. Of course, now to a family mourning the death of a 31-year-old rideshare driver killed on the job.
Chicago police investigating this tonight. Michelle Gallardo reports from the near west side.
The shooting happened just steps away from St. Ignatius College Prep. School officials here telling us that CPD detectives have reviewed their surveillance footage, but unfortunately their cameras were not able to capture the shooting as investigators continue to search for the people responsible for it.
31-year-old Milton Villasela Ayora arrived in Chicago from Ecuador 15 years ago. Last night, his American dream was cut short when he was shot and killed in a drive-by while working a second job as a rideshare driver.
We had a witness tell us that it was rapid fire, fully automatic weapon.
Villasela's mother and siblings laid down flowers and offered each other comfort today, just steps from where he was gunned down. Chicago police saying Villasela was stopped at a red light at Roosevelt and Blue Island when gunshots rained into his vehicle, killing him and injuring his passenger, who investigators say is known to police.
Mother of the victim spoke on scene. She said the victim called her at about 9:06 and stated that there was a gray SUV with 4 M1s, all wearing ski masks and black gloves, that pulled up, and they were the ones who shot him.
Unwilling to speak on camera earlier today, Villasela's family shared that he was the eldest of 4 children and worked as a busboy by day and a rideshare driver by night to make ends meet. Lyft releasing a statement that reads, "This is an unspeakable tragedy, and our hearts are with Mr. Villasela Ayora's loved ones and everyone impacted by this reprehensible incident. We stand ready to support law enforcement with any investigations and are working to get in touch with Mr. Villasela Ayora's family and the rider to offer our support."
And while police have said that the rideshare passenger was in fact the person that is known to them, they will not definitively say that he was the target of the shooting. That passenger continuing to recover at Stroger Hospital. On the near west side, I'm Michelle Gallardo, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Classmates remember a 13-year-old boy who was killed in a shooting on I-57. They released these balloons today at the Southside School that William Smith attended. Trey Ward spoke with Smith's best friend and others about their loss.
Students and staff here at Montessori School are in mourning. The evidence of that is apparent right on the sign behind us. It reads, "Long live Will." The school still grappling with the loss of one of their own.
And we know that William is looking down on us, and we're asking you right now to just cover and just keep us in your care.
Class at Montessori School of Inglewood.
And it felt like we was real close to him.
Just hasn't been the same since last Thursday.
Everybody been crying, everybody eyes red, everybody got their head down.
Which was the last time 13-year-old William Smith's 8th grade class saw him alive. Smith had to transfer to the school in November.
We wanted them to come to school today because, you know, when young teenagers grieve, they need to grieve together.
Chicago police say Sunday night Smith was in a car on I-57 near 111th Street when someone riddled the SUV with bullets. School officials say Smith's 19-year-old brother, Nasir Hall, and Hall's 1-year-old daughter, Amara, were also killed. 3 other people were hurt.
They didn't deserve to have their life taken away from them. They were innocent people that want to enjoy life and grow up.
The shooting ripping a young teen from the lives of his friends and family, who are now committed to keeping his legacy alive.
For Will. Long live Will.
Will's friends say that he was looking forward to Picture Day next month. Police say they're still searching for the shooter. In West Inglewood, I'm Trey Ward, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Trey, thank you for that. Today, a Cook County judge awarded guardianship of Heather Macks' daughter to a cousin in Colorado. Mack gave birth to her now 7-year-old daughter, Stella, while serving time in an Indonesian prison for a 2014 murder of her mother, Sheila Van Wiesmack. Heather Mack is now back in Chicago, and she is awaiting trial on conspiracy and obstruction charges stemming from her mother's death.
A 20-year-old college football player from the Chicago area has died. University of Nevada, Las Vegas announced that defensive lineman Ryan Keeler died yesterday in Las Vegas. Keeler also played football at Nazareth Academy in suburban LaGrange Park. The Catholic College Prep School posted this photo of Keeler online with a message of support for his family. His cause of death has not been released tonight.
And President Biden wants the world to stand with Ukraine. He spoke in Poland today to a crowd of thousands. His speech coming just before the 1-year mark since Russia invaded Ukraine.
Tonight we have team coverage of the president's speech and on people here in Chicago impacted by the war. We began with ABC's Justin Finch.
Before a crowd of 30,000 in Poland and the world, President Joe Biden boldly calling for the U.S. and NATO allies to double down on supporting Ukraine.
1 year into this war, Putin no longer doubts the strength of our coalition, but he still doubts our conviction. He doubts our staying power.
Biden calling out Russian President Vladimir Putin by name, telling crowds that Putin's craven lust for land and power will fail. Hours earlier, Putin also making a big speech. His State of the Nation address took direct aim at the U.S. and the West without mentioning Biden's name. Putin falsely declared that the U.S. and Western allies started the war in Ukraine and that Russian troops are using force to stop it. Biden insisting Putin alone is responsible.
President Putin chose this war. Every day the war continues is his choice. He could end the war with a word. It's simple.
As Putin spoke, reports of at least 6 killed and more than a dozen injured in a Russian rocket attack in Kherson, Ukraine.
Kyiv stands strong. It stands tall. And most important, it stands free.
Biden hailing the resolve of Ukraine's capital city following his carefully coordinated war zone visit. A feat the president says is only possible because of Ukraine's determination and critical weapon support from the U.S. and NATO allies. Putin also announced Russia would temporarily pause involvement in the Obama-era New START nuclear arms treaty with the U.S. Russia's foreign ministry later explaining it intends to adhere to a responsible approach, saying Russia will continue strictly complying with quantitative restrictions on offensive weapons. Justin Finch, ABC News, Washington.
Justin, thank you for that. Now, as we approach that one-year mark, Ukrainians living right here in the Chicago area are pleading for continued support. Stephanie Wade sitting down with several people who have experienced this war firsthand.
The painfully beautiful lyrics tell a gut-wrenching story. Where people wanted to be free. The story of Olha Svintarna being forced to leave her home in Kyiv when the Ukrainian capital came under fire.
We woke up at 5 in the morning. My husband woke me up and says, like, they are bombing us, so you have 1 hour.
In that 1 hour, she grabbed her son, one suitcase, and left on a 7-day journey to America. Her husband stayed to fight in the army.
The terrifying thing was that you don't know what's going to happen next moment.
Halia Didula knows that same terrifying feeling. She spent the first 6 months of the war in her hometown of Lviv before coming to Chicago on a Fulbright scholarship.
I was sure for a few days that I would be killed. There was like few days when there was a lot of information that our city will be destroyed. And I remember I even wrote like the last letter and sent it to my friend.
Photos show Halia and her family taking refuge in their basement for days while explosions erupted overhead.
I remember we were praying. Every time something was like this, we were just praying.
No one ever should get used to fear and danger for your friends and relatives.
Nadia Glavin's father is still in Ukraine. She worries every day.
It's just that feeling that every time you speak to them, you don't know whether you will be able to speak with them again.
As a Ukrainian attorney, Svitlana Urin has helped hundreds of refugees resettle in Chicago and says she's expecting more to arrive.
I think that more people are going to leave Ukraine, and Europe probably is not able to manage this influx of the new wave of refugees.
These local Ukrainians begging for continued support.
Every second is more lives lost.
In the fight of their lives.
We are fighting to protect our country and surrounding countries and the world.
Several marches are planned around Chicago this Friday to mark 1 year since the Russian invasion. In Ukrainian Village, Stephanie Wade, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Stephanie, thank you. First Lady Dr. Jill Biden will make a historic trip to Africa this week. The First Lady will arrive tomorrow, then travel to Kenya, where food insecurity and drought will be front and center. She'll also meet with the First Ladies from various countries and engage with women's empowerment organizations. White House says it's working to strengthen its relationship with African countries at a time when Russia and China have made inroads in the region. President Biden is expected to travel to Africa later this year.
And back here closer to home, people living in Little Village say a leaked report from the city's inspector general finds fault with several city departments over the botched demolition of a smokestack. It happened in April of 2020. People who live near the site say the dust and debris has caused lasting respiratory problems. 22nd Ward Alderman Mike Rodriguez calling the situation environmental racism against a largely Latino community.
The IG report states real clearly that city bureaucracy failed the residents of Little Village. They failed my neighbors and they failed my community.
Both the Inspector General and Mayor's office have said the report should not have been leaked.
A dispute over health benefits for first responders who contracted COVID is now turning into a political issue, and it's pitting Chicago's mayor against a high-profile state politician who has a personal stake in the cause. Political reporter Craig Wall has more.
This is very personal for Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza, whose police officer brother is a long-haul victim of COVID. He was denied full disability benefits by the Police Pension Board, and Mendoza is blaming the mayor. Susana Mendoza, who was one of Lori Lightfoot's mayoral rivals 4 years ago, now jumping into the race on behalf of her police officer brother Joaquin, who contracted COVID during the heat of the pandemic in 2020 after working 17 straight days. She was critical of the pension board's double standard for first responders dying from COVID versus those who survive and are left disabled.
They went against their own pension fund doctors' findings that the COVID Joaquin caught on the job left him unable to do his job. They didn't care.
Mendoza laying the blame at Mayor Lightfoot's feet because she appoints half the pension board.
And so I do hold the mayor accountable because that's her board. I mean, those trustees that voted against my brother and against this officer are her people.
Mayor Lightfoot denying she had any role in the decision for Mendoza's brother or other first responders in the same position.
In my administration, we simply don't play politics with the pension code, and we don't play politics with the law.
Mendoza has now filed a bill in Springfield to change the law. She says the timing had nothing to do with the election. The bill deadline was last Friday. Mayor Lightfoot sensing political motivations.
It's not lost on me that this is a press conference in City Hall a week before the election. You can draw your own conclusions.
Lightfoot maintaining the city did all it could to protect first responders during the pre-vaccine stage of the pandemic, but Mendoza now questioning Lightfoot's support.
And so she can't say with one face that you support the men and women in uniform, our first responders, and then do what they did to them.
Lightfoot calling this silly season on steroids. She said if the law needs to be changed, then Springfield should act to ensure greater protection for first responders, and she said she would work to do the right thing for them. Back to you.
Craig, thank you for that report. We'll have complete coverage of election night right here on ABC 7. We'll have live reports starting right here during Eyewitness News at 7, plus updates all night long, and we'll have complete coverage on Eyewitness News at 10. You ready? It's going to be another fun, long night.
I know, a week from tonight.
It's hard to believe it's here.
It's already here, right?
We got you covered, yeah.
Well, the Pullman Porter Museum is preparing for a major expansion. We are talking to the officials. We're talking to them live just ahead tonight.
Forward to that. And first heavy rain expected tomorrow. Some areas could see ice. Greg wanted 45 minutes. We'll probably give him 3 or 4, whatever Michelle decides, because this is a big one.
We can give him 25.
We got other stuff to talk about.
Okay, it'll be added up. It'll be 25 in the hour, right?
Yeah. Either way,
he took some time right now.
Yeah, right. We're taking time, but he'll sort through the AccuWeather forecast because there is a lot to discuss. You might get snow or rain or a combination of both next. It's time for your weather forecast on this. It was Tuesday? Wait, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Tuesday, second day.
Second day. Do we have a name for it?
TWO.
My Friday.
Tuesday.
Oh, it's your Friday. Now, is that gonna,
that's what you think.
That's right.
Yeah,
is that going to be your new schedule?
No, my day's off shifted because I got to
Friday.
travel to New York on Friday for GMA stuff.
Gotcha.
So I get Wednesday,
Such a
Thursday
name
this week.
dropper.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, right. He's got to.
I'll see you guys, but so will the rest of America.
Right. You know, I'm going to go. You know.
Hey, you never
GMA.
told us, and I know we're stealing his time already.
Ah,
When you went to eat pizza.
Yep.
We had you on the night before.
Yes.
You didn't say a word. And then we
Didn't
see
say
you
a
on
word,
GMA.
yeah.
He's eating
Because
sliced
he's got his
pizza.
fancy friends, his
come
network
on.
friends calling him, hey, Greg Gooch, what's up?
We need you to eat this pizza again and choose the winner
With,
for the country.
Sheila
For
E.
me, right?
Like,
Yeah.
did Sheila E. ask about me, her best friend Cheryl?
Sheila, she did. She
said
walked right up to me and she
yeah.
goes, "Hey, how's Cheryl doing?"
Right, I knew it. You know,
it's funny because like
I sat next to her at the J-Lo concert in Las Vegas.
I don't get starstruck often, but like I was like tripping over myself as I was introducing myself to her, and I'm like,
I mean, what do you
She's
say?
legit.
She is an icon.
legendary musician, drummer, like.
Oh, I just want to have a conversation about her and Prince. Then, like, I want her to tell me everything about her and Prince.
See, I do too, but like I felt weird being like, "Hey, Shali, how's Prince?" Because I was happy enough to talk to her.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? But you're right. So like the second time we hang out, maybe I'll start bringing Prince into the conversation. Like just we'll play it cool, Cheryl.
Their stories are amazing. And did you enjoy though? You know, Greg, you seem to be the foodie guy. You did the last food fair for us
ribs?
too.
It was barbecue.
Oh, geez, no. You work out. You play hockey 9 hours a day.
I did.
You know, you have 2 daughters who keep you running. I mean, keep you snow shoveling. They keep you busy.
No, he's got the snowblower.
True. Yeah, I got the snowblower now. That's why I'm getting a little thick.
Our producer said, let's go.
Yeah, luckily we won't need the snowblower, but they're going to in Minnesota.
They are. Yeah, I may take Big Red on the road, just flatbed it, tow it behind my Chevy Volt, bring it on up to Green Bay because they're going to get absolutely hammered with snowfall there. And we get rainfall and a little bit of ice in our northernmost county. So here's kind of the lay of the land on the satellite and radar. Now, again, most of the system is off to our north, but there is going to be another little push that'll bring the precipitation farther south. Now, here's what we got going on. Far off to the north, that's, of course, the worst. Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, all the way through the Twin Cities. They've got that winter storm warning. They're going to get absolutely hammered with snow, probably a foot plus there. And then we got this ice warning that extends into southern Wisconsin, doesn't quite make its way into our northernmost counties, but it picks up as a winter weather advisory in our northernmost counties. And that even extends down into Kane County, out in Boone County, and DeKalb County too. And that is where some icing is possible. Notice here that kind of straddles northern Cook and northern DuPage County. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a little icing there too. So here are the main headlines. Off to the north, mainly freezing rain is how it starts off early tomorrow morning, and then switches over to rain. That'll begin again by the mid-morning is when we start seeing that switch over. Significant icing, like ice storm type conditions if you're headed into southern Wisconsin. In fact, if you're going to head to southern Wisconsin and you're not leaving like nowish or within the next couple of hours, don't. Because the travel is going to be absolutely impossible when you get into our northernmost counties. If you're heading up on like I-90 or something like that. And the city and points off to the west, some mixing and freezing rain will begin early in the morning for your morning commute, so your ears should perk up for that. And then it'll switch over to rain. We'll get rid of that icing on the roadways, but there can be not only some icing, but also localized flooding. So we're going to get some heavy rain out of this. Then off to the south, some ice possible for a very short period of time, right around daybreak, but then it switches over to rain and possible thunderstorms off to the south. Here is just the mental imagery of where that icing is potentially going to happen. So yes, possibly south to O'Hare, affecting flights. Northern Cook County, could even see it into northern DuPage County. Again, these would be minimal impacts, but still icing nonetheless during the middle and tail end of the morning drive. It'll be taken care of by rain and warming temperatures, but you at least got to be on guard if you're in the city or out into DuPage County. Northern Will County can let your guard down a little bit more, but again, potentially some localized flooding because of so much heavy rain. Right now, the radar is dry, but spreading out the view. Again, you can see that system back out off to our west. It'll combine forces with another low, and as we watch it here scooting into the area, keep an eye on our temperatures, especially as that freezing rain period starts up. And you see some mixing, but ground temperatures 35, 36 degrees in Naperville. Again, I don't expect that to be icing, but there you go. There's this little sweet spot. We're around 32 to 34 degrees in the morning during the morning drive, and this is when the icing could happen. Notice though, Crystal Lake, Lake Geneva, Waukegan, they are at 32. They stay at 32 for a long time, and it's Lake and McHenry County that are going to see significant icing and definitely going to see really bad icing conditions into southern Wisconsin. Switches over to rain for the rest of everybody else here through Wednesday morning. There's that chance of thunder off to the south as we could see 1 inch, 2 inches of total rainfall here. All of the weather models spitting out well above 1 inch, and again getting into that 2-inch range from a couple of them. Obviously, there's an AccuWeather alert day for tomorrow. Your morning commute is going to be the worst out of the two as it switches mainly over to rainfall for the rest of us here. Again, icy off to the north. Expect flurries at night on Friday, and oh yeah, guess what? Another system moves in during the beginning of next week. That could be rain as well with, look at that temperature, 56 degrees by next Monday. Does not feel like February.
Yeah, we've been enjoying these great temperatures, Greg. But tomorrow, depending on where you are, it's going to depend on what you get, right?
North is worse for sure.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for that. We'll talk to you a little bit later on in the hour. Now, in honor of Black History Month, we want to highlight the Phillip Randolph Pullman Porter Museum. The museum is preparing for a major expansion and is hosting its Gentle Warrior Awards Black the fundraiser this Saturday. Well, joining us tonight is the museum's president, David Peterson Jr. Welcome back again, because you were part of one of our very first live interviews here on the Hour of Power, our streaming service. Last year, I remember it so well. You were getting ready for this event. Welcome to the show again.
No, thank you so much for having me. On behalf of our founder, Dr. Lynn Hughes, our board of directors, and our international advisory board, thank you so much for having us again. We feel at home here.
Yeah, you are home, your family. And let's give everybody a little backstory on the Pullman Porter story and the museum, why it's such an important part of American history.
Sure, because the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters was the world's first and only Black labor union to receive a charter under the American Federation of Labor in 1937, after they organized in 1925. So these gentlemen are the reason that we have Black union men who are respected. But in addition to that, because of Asa Phillip Randolph, these gentlemen are the reason why we have a civil rights movement. You know, they were fighting for economic equality in the 20s. So when the 60s came, they already had a blueprint and a proof of concept of how to organize and get things done effectively, because in 41, they forced President Roosevelt to sign an executive order which banned all discriminatory practices in the armed forces and work-related fields. So these gentlemen here, they are literally the epitome of what organization really looks like, you know, and getting things done the right way and the impactful way.
Yes, some would say that for Black men in those days, they were a bona fide union, and they, of course, created the labor movement that we live with today because of what they created back in history.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and for us, it's been a pleasure, privilege, and honor to be able to protect, preserve, and interpret this story for almost 3 decades. You know, this is our 28th anniversary. Yeah. We were founded February 25th, 1995. So we're excited, you know, and we like to pride ourselves on being a first, you know, so now we're the first to start a Black labor tourism district. And that's why this fundraiser is so important, because we're literally not just expanding the museum with the Jesse Jackson Civil Rights Wing, but we have a whole Black labor tourism district on Randolph's Way, A. Phillip Randolph's Way. So we're going to have the Jesse White Black Labor Research Library, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters Ladies Auxiliary Women's History Museum. This will be the first time that we'll be able to honor the contributions of the women in the labor movement, from the Ladies Auxiliary to the maids to all of the women behind the scenes that made things turn. You know, there is no us without the women, and we like to tell that story collectively as a family story. You know, we don't like to separate the story. This is all together, and we're happy to be able to tell that story once again.
Thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. Of course, President Barack Obama in 2015 designated the museum as a national monument. You have your black tie fundraiser. Talk about your honorees.
Absolutely. So just a quick fun fact. We're now a National Historic Park.
Yes.
Thanks to Congresswoman Robin Kelly and all of our partners. It's finally been pushed through. So now we're officially a national park. So shout out to Pullman National Historic Park. Yes. The people that we'll be honoring this year are labor leaders like Mr. Redmond. Mr. Redmond is the highest ranking African American in the American Federation of Labor. We're also honoring the first and only female president of the American Federation of Labor. And these are some great people, but for me, my soft spot is always the local leaders. You know, the local leaders that are behind the scenes that do the work. Miss Tina Sanders of Phalanx Family Services, a giant on the far south side of Chicago. Miss Stacey Davis Gates, president of the Chicago Teachers Union, and also Miss Honorable Judge Hubbard. You know, these people are the people that usually don't get their just due, and people really don't know about their work outside of their social circle. So that's why we've instituted the Change Agent portion of the Gentle Warrior Awards, and we're excited to be able to honor all of these people. So with all of these people, the labor leaders, the community leaders, we get an opportunity to show the world why working together and how working together can make an impact in your community. We're global ambassadors of cultural and economic development. And with that, we use our history, heritage, and culture as a means of social and economic development. And that's why putting this story out is so important.
You talked about the expansion, the Jesse White Wing, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Wing. How will these funds that are raised at this black tie fundraiser be used?
Well, we have a total project goal of $30 million. That's how much it's going to take us to do all of these different effects, all of these different things, you know, and finally the A. Phillip Randolph Culture Factory Complex. So with $30 million, we're not just putting it into one building. We're putting it into an entire black labor district. The museum expansion itself is a $5.3 million project. We've been successful in raising about 3.5 now from state, federal funds, but we need more. So it sounds like a lot. And when we say we have a $30 million expansion plan, the misconception is, oh, you have it. So people think that we just have some check waiting in the mail for us. That's not the case. But what we have done is we have labeled and put a price tag on our project. So this fundraising effort is so important because we need everybody to chip in. We need everybody to, private and public funding. What we're ambassadors. We're the first museum to be an ambassador of what we call venture philanthropy. So we're not just asking for a donation, and we don't want to be grant dependent. We're asking for a boost so that we can show people why investing in a national park is so important and how impactful it can be. We're going to be able to hire right from the community. We're going to be able to train right in the community. So the people who don't have the skills in the community, they'll be able to work right in our community and get that training from apprenticeship programs. That's why we're partnering with people like Chicago Federation of Labor, with Hire 360, Shy Cooks, the Chicago and Cook County Collaborative Workforce Development Project, Phalanx Family Services, the Far South Chicago Coalition. All of these different great organizations come together to make sure that the well-being of our community and the quality of life of our community is our responsibility. So we're not worried about who's going to be elected, who's in office, whoever's in office. We want to work with them.
Well, now
that's why this is important.
Your global designation of a national park, so perhaps that is going to make it a lot easier for you to reach your goals. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
We wish you best blessings this weekend. I know the fashions will be really nice. Of course, you all have a great time at the black tie event. The president of the Pullman Porter Museum, David Peterson, always you're considered family. So thank you and have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you next year. We'll see if you're closer to that 30 million, how much closer you will be. All right.
Get 100 mil by then.
All right. Well done. Exactly. We like that number too.
Yeah, more than a tenth of the way there already.
Yeah.
It should happen. We're members of a union. Chicago's a union town. What happened there is an important part of American history.
Right, trickle down. We have all benefited from their hard work and sacrifice and resilience.
Wait to see that thing when it's done. You look at the renderings.
Yeah.
They've already done a lot of work down there. It's
National
gonna be
Park, right in our own backyard.
It's pretty nice.
You know,
it's pretty nice.
Good
stuff. Coming up, Racing to Educate, the new partnership with NASCAR heading to Chicago schools. This is a good one.
Plus, why a movie character may soon be answering when your doorbell rings. Ooh, that's a good tease. We'll talk about it on the other side of the break.
CPS, the Field Museum, and NASCAR working together to make science accessible and exciting. They're launching race car themed learning experiences, all ahead of the first ever Chicago Street Race weekend on July 1st and 2nd. Among those at today's event, NASCAR driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. This morning, he brought his Daytona 500 trophy to our State Street studio and talked with Terrell Brown.
We've never done a street course race in the history of NASCAR for a points race, and so this will be new for a lot of us. You know, this is our 75th year anniversary of NASCAR. This year we're going back to a racetrack that we haven't been to in over a decade, and then now we're doing new stuff.
He just won the Daytona 500. And he's here with us. It's awesome. Chicago Street Race happens July 1st and 2nd on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, Michigan Avenue, Columbus Drive. Tickets are now on sale. Check out more information at abc7chicago.com.
Wasn't it the longest ever in the
Yes,
history
it
of
was,
race
yeah,
car? He
right.
said he was working with simulators so he can prepare for the race that comes here to Chicago.
And that was a rendering, so you can kind of see. It was actually pretty good. You can kind of tell where they're going to go. But downtown is going to be so busy because it's 4th of July weekend, remember? It goes right into the holiday.
So it's like you either get in it or you're not going to be in it. You know, if you're
it's gonna
downtown,
be,
you're going to be in it.
I can't wait to see it. It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
We're going to be put up once again on the map in the universe. Chicago doing a first. He said this is the first time they've ever done that.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
All right. Well, Michael B. Jordan may be answering your door as Adonis Creed. Whoa, a lot of people like that. The Ring Doorbell Company is partnering with the actor to make a pre-recorded message. Users can download his voice and his responses to play anytime someone rings the doorbell, and the response clips are from the Creed movie. So there are 3, and Creed 3 hits the movie theaters on March 3rd. I wonder what would he say. Jose is interviewing him next week.
Oh, well, we'll have to make
yes,
sure he
and
asks.
Jonathan Majors also, so we can ask him what he
Wait, Jonathan Majors again?
Yeah, in person. He's going to interview them in person.
Oh, wow.
Both of them in person. So I wonder, he should ask him
what the recorded message
right,
is.
what is he
We
going
can
to
probably
say.
get you a personal recorded message if Jose wants to ask him. So when people ring your doorbell, they
Right,
messing with
that's
you.
what I'm wondering, if you can get a personal one or if it's just going to be generic and you just download it. And well, what do you think? What would he say? Who's there? Hello, who's there?
Who's there? My dad was awesome, and then Drago killed him.
Like, what are the lines from the movies? I don't know. I'm gonna get you. I don't know. What are you? I don't know.
Well, it was Mr. T. I pity the fool, but that was different.
Right, that was number
He
one.
wasn't even born yet.
Right.
He wasn't even born, according to the
something
movies.
like that.
So, we are celebrating Fat Tuesday, which is today. We celebrated a couple weeks ago.
We
had
did. They
Poochies
were
in here.
delicious.
Yes.
Just ahead tonight, the different kind of treats that people will eat to celebrate.
Also highlighting an industry with fewer black owners. Up next, we take you to a brewery working to make the industry more equal, and it's some delicious beer, too.
Oh, is that beer?
Oh, yeah.
The orange?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to just see this story. It's interesting. Oh, wow. Okay. You gotta have to tell me. From their garage to your local grocery store shelves, a black-owned brewery in Chicago hoping to appeal to new beer drinkers from all different backgrounds.
They're doing a great job as we celebrate Black History Month. We spoke to the co-founders who turned their passion for beer into a business that celebrates their community.
3 lifelong friends from Oak Park took their beer-making hobby and brewed a business. They call it Funky Town Brewery, a reflection of their love for 90s hip-hop.
The word funky, we realized that it was used for generations. The word town is community, and we're always focused on community.
Knowing fewer than 1% of the breweries across the country are black-owned, Rich Bloomfield, Greg Williams, and Zach Day moved from a home brewing business in their garage and landed a spot at Pilot Project Brewing, an incubator in Logan Square.
The whole goal for them is to lower the barriers of entry, because like the capital costs for space, and then the equipment, and then the sales team, the distribution team, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to kind of bootstrap that on their own.
Funky Town is the only black-owned brewery that actually brews beer here in Chicago. Their target customer, new beer drinkers.
We create palatable beers, low ABV, low bitterness, low astringency, because we want people who've never had a beer create their own palate and understand what type of beers they like.
They also participate in the annual Black is Beautiful initiative.
There was this brewery in Texas called Weathered Souls in San Antonio. They created this base recipe and shared it with everyone. So each brewery can kind of remix it their own way, but you release it under the Black is Beautiful label. All the labels were the same, and you donate the proceeds to a social justice organization.
This year's can features the many colors of beautiful black women. And women like beer too.
We need people to understand they do belong in this space, and this space is for them.
You can find Funky Town beers at more than 400 locations in our area. One day, these three professionals dream of quitting their day jobs, moving into their own space, growing the brand, and giving back.
Beer is a conversation starter, but just getting the brand out just to let them know we're all about the community. We want to make sure that everyone knows about Funky Town, not just about beer, but from a community aspect.
Answered a lot of beer questions during that
I know,
story.
because I'm not a beer drinker, so
We can change that.
Funky Town, I love the name.
Yeah, it's great.
I love the color. I love
Yeah.
the can, celebrating Black History Month.
Oh, the Black is Beautiful
So-
can. Their cans are a work of
Yeah.
art. I mean,
Right.
they're really, really cool looking, and you can see the detail they put into them. So Black is Beautiful, that's a stout, so that's darker.
Okay.
Terrific. It's on tap at the United Center.
Oh, wow.
And it's also available in, I
Okay.
think, 400 locations. So Jewel has it, Whole Foods has it, Binny's hat. I mean, you can find these
Wow.
guys
Okay.
and try their beers. It's terrific. And you heard us talking about how they have other jobs.
Right,
Like,
I was
they're really-
asking you about
it's
that. I mean,
incredible. And
you've
they-
got to do that sometimes until you get to, you got to do what you got to do to get to what you want to do.
And they're on their
So-
way. The alarming statistic I thought of about that story is fewer than 1% of the breweries in this country are black owned. It's just
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's just staggering.
I know.
So they're going to share it, and they're going to grow, and the stout was really good. I don't have any for you or Greg.
Well,
I'm
what about
sorry.
you, though?
Oh,
Did
yeah,
you
no, I
test?
tried it.
You
Yeah,
tried.
I
Did
tried
you
it.
have a favorite taste?
The stout is very good. Yeah, on
Okay.
tap at the UC, I bet it's terrific.
Wow.
That's good.
Okay. Oh.
So I don't have any for
Cold
you. I
brew.
apologize.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to follow them and see if those numbers change in a year from now.
Yeah, and
You know?
they get their own space, even though that space is terrific, and they can really they hit the ground running, and they're already doing really well.
Yeah. Very nice story. All
they're good
right.
stuff.
Thanks for sharing the story with us. But you didn't share with us, but you did share the
Well,
story.
Blanca Rios,
with us.
our
Yeah.
producer, did a terrific job on that story.
Yeah.
She spearheaded it all and
Okay.
brought some back for the newsroom, but I kept it
All right.
in my office.
As a souvenir.
And
yeah.
it's a souvenir. And I'll show you the can.
Yeah, I want to see it.
It's
definitely.
empty. Is it
Yeah.
okay?
Oh, it's empty?
Yeah, the can is.
Oh, that means it's gone.
If I didn't drink it here during
Oh,
work hours,
yeah.
would never do that. No, I got to stay
Right.
focused.
All right, let's talk about ABC7 today. All
we got
right, we're
to-
going to take a break.
Oh, then we want to talk about this next one.
Right,
Yes, after
okay.
this.
ABC 7 celebrating Black History Month with our annual luncheon. It was hosted by Jose Sanders and myself. The luncheon was held in person today for the first time in 3 years at the DuSable Black History Museum and Education Center. The president and CEO speaking about the museum's mission.
It's so important that we educate our children and all children on Blackness all over the world.
And we also shared stories from our upcoming special called Our Chicago Spirit and Perseverance, which airs this Saturday at 6 o'clock. Jose and myself will be hosting this special with an encore presentation at 11 p.m. on Sunday night. Deanna Palomar, the Vice President of Community Relations, put together an extraordinary event. It was so wonderful to see everybody, the community outreach. We haven't done this in person in 3 years, and seeing the people there. And many of the people we featured in this half-hour special were there today.
So that you guys have been working really hard on that special. I didn't realize. So it's airing Saturday
and Sunday for
Okay.
an encore presentation. And one of the gentlemen there was ordained by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His first time he ordained a minister.
Is that in the special?
There, it's in the special, and
Okay.
he was there in our presence today, as well as a couple who've been married 61 years.
Nice.
They talked about what it takes. It's the month of love, so we had to feature a love story as well. And then a hair care company, and then the young lady who has her own bakery and sugar candy company. And you talked about the equity in brewing. Well, it's a very small who own their own candy company as well. So some really great stories. They were all there today. She passed out some goodies too.
Oh, you said the food. We talked about it earlier when you got
the
back.
food, the catering. And you know what was really cool, Rob, about the food? The chef who made the food did a story for each item that we ate. Every food that we ate, it was a recipe from an ancestor.
Had a story behind it.
Yes, a story, and what it meant to the history of Black America.
Nice.
Really powerful, and it was delicious, from crab cakes to jambalaya to macaroni and cheese. Of course, you know that's a staple. So
Sounds great. I know a lot of our
chops.
coworkers were there as
Yeah.
well. So Jose and you, well done.
Right, it was great.
Good.
It was really great to be in person and hug and see everybody as
Right?
well. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to celebrate Mardi Gras too.
Sure.
Yeah.
We got
Les
beer,
Bon
we're
Renton.
talking
What did you
delicious
say?
food.
The parades and traditions around the country. Let the good times roll. Say that in
Also,
Francais.
The pastries, Chicagoans up early for poochkies, sponchkies, whatever, however you want to say it. I've been working on
remember
it
she
all
taught
day.
us last week?
She did, and I
Yeah.
already forgot.
Okay.
But there was a line for these. We'll talk more about it. Come on over, Greg. He's over there. I don't know what he's doing. We're going to talk about Mardi Gras. I'm hungry after all this food discussion.
I know, and traditionally, of course, it is a time to indulge before Lent begins.
Happy Fat Tuesday. I don't know if we say that. Happy Fat Tuesday.
I
had a piece of Lou's for breakfast this morning.
A piece of who?
Lou's.
Oh.
Lumalnati.
Yeah, pizza
Lou's.
for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Are you back in college? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Baby. This is Fat Tuesday, though. We're talking about this.
Right, so you could do that,
Yes,
right?
you can do it.
But here in the United States, most people associate the holiday with New Orleans, where the parades there are famous and fabulous. The celebrations there returning in full force. Of course, we've been talking about it following the pandemic. Well, last year, it was almost there, but this year, and what did they say? Laissez le bon temps brûler. That's let the good times roll in Francais. And that is the theme in New Orleans. Nolans, N-A-W-L-I-N-S. Nolans, when you're talking about it.
We neither one of us speak French, so we can't check you on that, but we're going to take your word for it.
Yeah, you should take my word. It's good because I wrote it down. Laissez le bon temps brûler. Okay? Yeah, I wrote it down just in case.
Did we check in with our resident Canadians on that?
Right. I'm not commenting on your handwriting at all. I can see it.
Let the good times roll. Oh, yeah, he wants to
That's a
talk
whole
about my
nother story.
handwriting.
We can't
That's
get off the rails
he
here.
Wants to right,
Yeah,
we
we're
can't.
still-
Okay.
So-
Have you guys ever been to a Mardi Gras celebration?
well,
because it's February, we can't have vacation.
Yeah.
So
not in Nolans.
I've never been. My cousin went to college down there, and he invited me a couple of times, and for some reason I did not go because I'm an idiot, and I should have.
Wow, now you're a man.
I'm a full-grown man, and I got no time for that.
Right, I have no time.
Just got to clear the snow tomorrow. That's like priorities. You got priorities.
Exactly.
One traditional Mardi Gras treat is king cake. You put a plastic baby inside.
I have done
bake
this.
it.
Yes.
Whoever gets the slice with the baby in it is supposed to host the party the next year.
I love that.
The cakes are often decorated in traditional Mardi Gras colors, including purple, green, and gold.
Wait, did they put a little Jesus in there? Is that
Well, see, now I remember, I thought for our Mexican culture, sometimes we would do this with little baby Jesus in there.
That's what it
That's
what I saw.
like
It's
it.
a
Yeah.
similar type thing.
Okay.
You find that I would be afraid I would eat the little baby or the little thing.
You would
know.
eat it?
Well,
No.
you chew it.
Oh, is it edible?
No, I don't think
No,
so.
no,
It's like,
no,
but-
it's
but
not
if you
edible.
slice into it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna. Then all of a sudden,
Yeah,
you
it's
swallow
like
it,
stepping on a.
Who gets it?
It's like stepping on a Disney princess toy on the stairs or something like that.
Ow.
That sounds painful.
It is.
Today, another name for today. Punchki Day. We saw long lines at bakeries around the city and suburbs. Weber's Bakery on Archer near Harlem opened early at 4 this
Look at
morning.
that.
We were there.
Yummy.
People lined up to make sure they got some of the Polish pastries.
You think that hole's big enough for me to crawl inside of and just like live?
Just yum. It's just yum. Poppy seed, lemon. Look at the flavors. Okay.
Is that what that said?
Yeah, blueberry, strawberry.
We're going to listen to the people who are actually there. Hold on.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Okay.
There's a richness to it. It's not like a donut. It's not like a croissant or a cannoli. It's like heaven in your mouth.
Oh, the strawberries, the cream, even the dough. It's just like, it just all melts in your mouth. And you just know it's like Fat Tuesday, tomorrow's Lent, you go on diet. So this is like the last day you can like indulge in the food.
She's fired up.
Love her
Wait,
laugh.
so Monica had 3 of them, she says, our director,
Right.
who's
And
expecting
none,
any week. So she's
sadly.
eating for 2. She can have as many as she wants. Michelle had 1 as well.
What flavors did they have?
I don't know, what did you guys have? Do you remember what flavors they were? They're not telling us.
had rose, which is a traditional Polish
Rose,
flavor.
Polish, traditional Polish.
I had raspberry and
Raspberry and
Oh,
cherry.
so she had
Now,
stayed in that
and
apricot.
She
Ooh,
shared
that
apricot.
sounds
So
delicious
Were
too.
you with us when we made them last week?
Well, yeah, and remember, as the woman said in that sound, it's the dough.
It's the
like
dough,
they're really
right.
like the insides are obviously great, but like the dough is the main.
Right, and it's not a donut.
Right.
Remember, she
No.
said
Yeah.
that. It was
So we had a lesson over in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and yours was really good. I mean, you were a natural. I'm not kidding. Like she had it was whipped cream and then strawberries, I think, on yours, and then I had a chocolate filling with a little whiskey flavor to it. It was just fabulous.
It's like
Sounds good.
it was whipped chocolate.
Yeah,
with the,
right. It was real
yeah, it
deal.
was
That
really
just like
delicious.
Weber's. I mean, there are people that are eating well today.
So, would you guys? What would you give up if you gave up something for Lent? I know you gave up something for your birthday,
Pizza for
fried food.
Well, that didn't work so well for him. Although I
It
think
did. It worked for like 6 weeks or something.
It was a couple of months. It was a couple of months that I went without
he
fried
did
food,
good.
which is more than I would have gotten
That's
if I
really
didn't give it
good.
up. Like, yeah.
Raised Catholic, I would give up usually sweets and stuff. I don't
Sweets
do
and
it
stuff.
anymore.
Okay, you don't. Okay.
Yeah, but it would be candy. I think
Okay.
we would do.
Yeah.
Whatever you the nuns would tell you had to do. We didn't get candy in school anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was how it was.
I just just got to give up grazing. I do a lot of grazing. Like I find myself in the pantry just like eating trail mix.
Oh, really?
Cereal.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, I'm a
That's
grazer.
a good one.
Oh, he's got.
Okay.
Would you give up anything?
Negative thoughts.
Negative
Okay.
thoughts,
Yeah,
but
that's
you're very
what, like-
positive anyway.
I know, right? So you gotta like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and they still creep in. You just got to tamp them
Yeah,
down.
you
know?
do, right? Yeah.
Push him out of the way.
Yeah.
Which you do. I've never heard you say anything negative ever.
Ever,
It doesn't
yeah.
count. It needs to be something you do. Positive thoughts, but then that would be bad.
Right.
All right, we gotta get weather. Big thing coming. I don't even know how to describe
no,
it.
it is.
Is that a meal or
It's a
a
big thing.
It is. No, that is meteorologically correct.
It's gonna stop on the skyline there.
And the good thing, yes, thankfully no Godzilla alerts, watches, or warnings out for our area. However, we do have a rarity out for our northernmost counties into southern Wisconsin, an ice storm warning. So we'll take a look at that. It's a very thin area. You usually don't see a bunch of counties highlighted in them, but it is just off to our north. So that's where the system is now, off to our north and west. And there is that ice warning. Again, southern Wisconsin, but butting right up to the northern Illinois border. And there's a possibility, of course, this is not a hard line. There's still going to be significant icing in central and northern portions of Lake and also McHenry counties, out to Boone County too, and then down into DeKalb and also Kane County, where a winter weather advisory is, and that is also for the icing. It just doesn't reach that number of the ice storm warning, kind of the threshold for it. But still, do not sleep on the icy conditions up off to the north. It is going to be very slick, and it'll happen during your morning drive and into the afternoon. For the city, there could be some early freezing rain too, so your ears should perk up in Chicago. They should perk up if you live out near O'Hare. They should still be listening if you live out as far south as Naperville or even northern Will County. There could still be a little bit of limited icing, as you see here, for the ice potential. Of course, the worst of it is off to the north. And again, yes, southern Wisconsin gets clocked, but so do our northernmost counties, and it could extend into northern Cook County. So Schaumburg, Palatine, Batavia, Barrington, just kind of throwing out every town that I know in that northern appendage. Of course, there's more in Cook County. And then that does extend into northern DuPage County too, probably about as far south as Wheaton and maybe Naperville for some icing. The good news is that in those spots, Wheaton, Naperville, areas farther off to the south, Aurora could even be in this too. You're going to get rain on top of that very quickly, and it'll melt off the thin layer of ice, but there's still that window, middle tail end of the morning drive, where it may look like it's just raining, but it could be very icy on the roadways. The bulk of the snow, that whiffs us way to the north. Not worried about that, but we are going to see in Green Bay and Milwaukee a foot and a half of snowfall out of this. Here is the purple. That's the wintry mix / icing. Areas where you're 32 or below, it's going to be straight up freezing rain. Crystal Lake, Waukegan, Lake Geneva, all of those spots. Do not drive into southern Wisconsin within the next 24 hours, because as you get through that, it is going to get very bad, and it keeps on getting worse even as you get past Green Bay. So there's a very large swath to our north that's getting clocked. Areas off to the south going to see heavy rain, perhaps even some rumbles of thunder during the day, and most of us will eventually switch over to the rain. So the biggest threat is mainly for our northern tier of counties, but again, there's still going to be some slick conditions from O'Hare and even into the city. Rainfall wise, inch plus, easy. Could even be up to 2 inches of rainfall here for some locations off to the south of Interstate 80 before all is said and done on our AccuWeather Alert Day, our Wednesday. Expect to see very windy conditions on Thursday as the system pulls on out, and then 56 degrees as the high temperature during the middle of next week, and another round of rain and perhaps even some rumbles of thunder. We'll be right back.
Colette, our teleprompter operator, sent me a text. She said, I nailed it. Nailed it. Laissez le bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right.